Welcome to part 3 of Feast Days of Yahuwah, and welcome to people of Yahuwah's Word, where Yahuwah has called us to truth, not tradition, conscience, not custom. I am Brother A, and today in part 3, we're going to examine a full year of Yahuwah's holy days, also referred to as set-apart days. These days include new moon days and weekly and yearly feast days. But before we get too far along, I just wanted to make an important correction. On parts 1 and 2, the email address was incorrectly spelled. So if anyone who was trying to reach us to get more information, use that email address, you did not reach us. So I have corrected it. It is peopleofyahuah'sword@gmail.com. So that is spelled peopleofyahuah'sword@gmail.com. So if you have any questions or wanting to share something, please feel free to contact us at that email address. Also, the PDF calendar I will be sharing later on in the program. You can request that PDF calendar by emailing us at peopleofyahuah'sword and at gmail.com and requesting that calendar. All right, let's continue. So when I'm referring to holy days are calendar days that are set apart by the instructions of Yahuwah's Word. Therefore, where the Holy Scripture gives instructions to set apart that day from a working day for a particular service, for rest, or for worship, then that is a holy day. All right, so there are a few critical points that I'd like to bring out. A number of people have expressed interest in understanding the feast days, but there's some really critical points that we need to understand as it relates to identifying Yahuwah's feast days according to the Scripture. So point number 1 is that the Gregorian calendar presented by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582 is based upon the pagan Julian calendar, which was created by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. You see, the Gregorian calendar is not at all recognized by the Holy Scripture. And as a tool for tracking days, years, or feast days, you see, these calendars are completely different. And they're so different. I mean, it's like comparing the metric system with the English system. They're two totally different systems of measuring length or various different types of units. And in the same way, the scriptural calendar system is totally different from the Gregorian calendar system in a way of measuring time. So in order to really identify Yahuwah's feast days, it's critically important to see that difference and understand that difference. Just to establish that point, I just wanted to bring your attention to a short clip, and we're going to take a look at that at this time.
So why is there division? The reason is that most have disregarded the method he provided us for determining his appointed times. If for a moment we put aside the Sabbath day and just have a look at how the calendar was structured in the Scriptures, we will see clearly where the problem lies. The Scriptural Calendar.
I knew that our Bible, this one, was written on the lunar calendar. Our calendar, the Western civilization calendar, is the Gregorian calendar from Pope Gregory of Rome. That means it's pagan in origin. It's not God's calendar. Our calendar and the calendar of this book do not match. Sun God is for Sunday. Moon God is for Monday. That's a sermon for another time. Believe me, much of what Christianity salutes is pagan to its root.
All right. So again, these two calendar systems are totally different. Point number 2. So when we're talking about the differences, how are they different? Okay. Well, the Gregorian calendar is a solar calendar. The solar calendar is just any dating system that is based upon a seasonal year of approximately 365.25 days. And a solar calendar tracks time based upon the position of the sun. So it's understandable why the Romans used a solar calendar is because they worshiped the sun, and one can understand why they would follow the positions of the sun in their dating system. On the other hand, point number 3, the scriptural timekeeping system is what is called a lunisolar calendar. And it's called this because each year, okay, is made up of a whole number of moon cycles or lunar months. According to the Holy Scripture, the first moon cycle or month of the year always occurs in the seasonal springtime of the year. You see, the word of Yahuwah identifies the first lunar month of the year as Abib. Abib is the name of that first month, always occurs in that time that corresponds to the Gregorian March or April. The fundamental point number 4 is that the fundamental unit of time for both calendar systems is the calendar day. So therefore, because the scriptural lunisolar calendar is so different, it's fundamentally different from Pope Gregory's solar pagan calendar, the calendar days do not match. Now, there are some who have suggested that Saturday is the 7th day of the scriptural calendar week, and that the pagans just relabeled, or the Gregorian calendar people who created it just relabeled the days of the scriptural calendar week with their own pagan names. Well, this suggestion is totally erroneous and tremendously flawed because the two calendar systems are fundamentally different. For example, the first day of the year of the scriptural calendar is always on the new moon day or first day of Abib, that first month in the springtime, the first month of the year. And it's always, like I said, always occurs in the springtime. Now, the first day of the year in the Gregorian calendar is the first day of an arbitrary month in the middle of the winter. So it's not governed by the structure, the system of the scriptural calendar. So they just don't match. Another reason why they don't match and that it's just not the scriptural calendar with pagan named weekdays is that every calendar day of the scriptural calendar system is based upon and is anchored to a day within a lunar cycle of 29 or 30 days. Whereas in Pope Gregory's calendar, days are a continuous series of 7 days without any recognition of new moon day or the moon for the count of calendar days, as is instructed in the Holy Scripture. And then another reason why, these calendars just really don't match, and this is a significant one too, is that the Gregorian calendar gives honor and reverence to numerous pagan gods in the structuring of days and months and holy days, whereas the scriptural calendar only gives honor to Yahuwah, the Elohim of the Hebrew prophets, in that it follows the instructions of Yahuwah to the Hebrew prophets for accounting for days, years, and feast days. So we can see that by examining the moon cycle, which accounts for all calendar days, and by examining the instructions from the Holy Scripture, one can see that there are 4 basic categories of days in every month. 3 of these categories, or 3 of these types of days, are clearly identified in the Holy Scripture. And the 4th category is easily seen when looking at the Creator's calendar. So let's take a look at that system, those 4 categories of days. So the first, new moon day, this day is a set apart day. This is or a holy day, okay? So that's category number 1. One type of day is new moon day on the scriptural calendar. The next type of days mentioned in the scriptures is the 6 working days. Okay, these are not set apart days. These are not holy days, 6 working days. The third type of day, third category of day, is the 7th day Sabbath. This is a set apart or holy day that is mentioned in the scripture. And the last category of type of day is the last day in a 30-day month. This is also not set apart. It is not a holy day. So let's see in the scripture some of these as an example. So let's take a look. 1 Samuel 25 says, "And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go that I may hide myself in the field until the 3rd day at even." So in this passage, it brings to light that David understood that tomorrow was the new moon. One way to determine the new moon is by observation, but clearly David had a calendar. He had a way of charting it because he knew before the new moon arrived that tomorrow was the new moon. Let's take a look at the next passage. 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 23. Here, if you look at the context of this passage, you'll see that there is a man and his wife, and he's talking to her, and he says, "And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him?" Him is Elisha. He says, "Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath." And she said, "It shall be well." So here he's asking her, why are you going to see the prophet? It's not Sabbath day, it's not new moon day. So those were set apart days. Okay, let's continue. 2 Chronicles 8:13 says, "Even after a certain rate every day, offering according to the commandment of Moses on the Sabbaths and on the new moons and on the solemn feast 3 times in the year, even in the feast of unleavened bread and in the feast of weeks and in the feast of tabernacles." So here we see, if we look up those words, we'll see that the feast is the appointed times, moed, as I talked about in part 2, and it says the Sabbaths. Okay, those are the seventh-day Sabbaths, the seventh day of the week, and on the new moon. So we have Sabbath days, we have new moons, and we also have these feast days. So these are different types of days, but pointing out Sabbaths and new moons as examples of these categories of days. Psalm 81:3 says, blow up the trumpet in the new moon, in the day appointed on our solemn feast day. So again, new moon was a solemn feast day. And then in Isaiah 66:23, we find this passage. It says, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. So in the new creation, Yahuwah will continue with the new moon, and his Sabbath, according to his instructions. Let's continue. Now, looking at these two verses, we find something interesting. It says in Ezekiel 46:1, it says, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened. So we have it's shut during the 6 working days because the people are not coming to worship, okay, Yahuwah on those days. So it's shut. But it's open on those days, the new moon, which is a separate day from Sabbath days, okay? This is corroborated in a couple verses down in Ezekiel 46:3. It says, likewise, the people of the land shall worship at the door of this gate before Yahuwah in the Sabbaths and in the new moons. So the new moons and the Sabbaths were days of worship. All right. So let's take a look at our calendar. Okay, so we're going to start looking at, as I mentioned, we're going to look at the feast days, okay, the weekly and the yearly festivals of Yahuwah and the new moons with a whole year. We're going to take a look at a whole year. So last time I think that I was using this, I was using my pointer, and it didn't show up on the video. So I was trying to communicate with my pointer, but wasn't being very specific with my words. And so some people may have gotten a little bit lost, but I'm going to try to be a little clearer here. All right, so here we see that we have the scriptural calendar superimposed on the Gregorian calendar. And as we know, according to the scripture, the scriptural calendar is based upon the system as presented by the timekeeping system as presented by the ordained tracking tools, the sun and the moon, particularly the sun for calendar days and holy days, particularly the moon for calendar days and holy days. So let's take a look. So we see that the first day of the year, I'm going to just blow this up a little bit. Okay, this is the first day. This is the month of Abib. So the 14th of March started the first day of the year. Okay, in 2021, March 2021, we're in that Gregorian year, but this is the 11th year of the Metonic cycle, the 11th year of that 19-year pattern of years. It's really amazing, and it just repeats itself after 19 years, the same pattern, the phases of the moon, the phases of the sun setting times, all these patterns just repeat themselves. And this is how people have been able to create calendars, is because the system, the tracking system in the sun and the moon is so accurate and so precise. All right, so new moon day, first new moon day. This is Abib. As you can see here in the 13th of March, okay, is the last day of the month. The previous day before Abib was a 30-day month, and I will show you how that works. So this is the last day of the month. Okay, the 13th of March, last day of the previous year, and the last day of the previous month. So here's the first day. 14th is the first day of the year. This is a set apart day. This is new moon day, the first day that light begins to shine again from the moon. So that's the first day of the month, first day of the year. Well, when do this working days begin? The very next day. So we have working day 1. Okay, the 15th of March. The 16th of March is working day 2. WD just stands for working day. So working day 3, the 17th working day 4, the 18th working day 5, the 19th working day 6 on the 20th of March. And then we have the 7th day of the week. So is the 21st, which is a Sabbath. So notice that on this calendar, okay, the same day that the new moon occurs is the same day that the Sabbath, the very next set of 7. So you'll notice that new moon is the first day of the month. Then we start counting 6 working days. On the 7th day is the Sabbath. And, you know, Yahuwah is not, he does everything for a reason. The moon is a picture in the sky. So you can see that on the Sabbath, it corresponds to the first quarter, which is half moon, which is pretty interesting. Now, in a month, there are 4 full weeks, always 4 weeks. Okay, so we have the first Sabbath on the 21st of March. Now, working day 1 begins again right after the first Sabbath. So there's the next series of 6 working days, and just count them: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then the second Sabbath. Okay, notice how that correlates with full moon. Okay, and the Sabbaths always correlate with the first quarter, the full moon, and the third quarter. And they're usually a day or so, maybe a day or so off from that, but they're very close to that, either the half moon, full moon, half moon again, and you'll see how it continues. So now we have Passover. Passover is always the 6th working day. It's always the day before the Sabbath. And then begins the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is always starts on a Sabbath. Okay, it starts on a 7th-day Sabbath, Feast of Unleavened Bread. And it continues. So we have Feast of Unleavened Bread. And then here is, I'm going to talk about this in future segments, future parts, but the significance of the festivals. We're going to get into that more. But one thing I just wanted to point out is that the day after the Sabbath, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread, is what is called the Day of First Fruits. So this was instituted according to the word of Yahuwah, that on the day after the Sabbath would be the Day of First Fruits, when the priest would wave a handful of grain stalks before Yahuwah, and then the people could go out and start harvesting. Well, this was a prophecy, because what it showed was the very day that the Messiah would rise from the dead. Okay, and it was on the first day, the first working day. Notice Okay, working day 1. This is also a working day 1. And this is also day of first fruits is always a working day. Is that first day, okay, that he rose, that first day of the week, first day of the scriptural week, of the third week, that he would rise from the dead. And so one could have, knowing the festivals, one could have seen what day Christ, Yahushua, would have risen from the dead. All right, so the festival of unleavened bread is for 7 days, so it continues. Let's continue. And then we have it continues, okay? And then we have the third Sabbath, okay? So we have third Sabbath of the first month. And like I said, I'm going to go into more detail into the festivals, but let's just keep on moving along. So then we have the fourth Sabbath on the 11th of April, 2021, fourth Sabbath of the first month. And this month is the first month of this year that we are in now. This first month was a 29-day month. How can we tell? Well, notice that new moon day comes right after, the new moon day of the second month comes right after the fourth Sabbath. You can see it right there. And again, this is all chartable. This is not something that one would have to guess at. All of these, the phases of the moon, are all based upon a pattern that the Creator designed and made for all of mankind. Now let's just count these. Let's just count this from the new moon, okay, from the first day of the month, okay, to the end of the month, that last day of the month. How many days is that? Here's the last day of the month, the 11th of April. First day of the month is the 14th of March. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. You'll notice this is the first month was a 29-day month. It is always either 29 days or 30 days, never 28, never 31. So here we have the first new moon day. Notice it's of the second month, falls on the 12th of April. And that is a Monday. Well, wait a minute. I thought you said that the Sabbath was on Sunday. Well, the first month it was, okay? The first month it fell. After the new moon day, you just count 6 working days, and the 7th day is the Sabbath, okay? But you see, this calendar system is not in harmony with the Gregorian calendar system. So the days on which the Sabbath occurs, the day in which the Gregorian calendar, the day in which the Gregorian calendar day falls is going to be different from month to month. Okay, so now Monday falls on the Sabbath on the second month. Okay, so we can see that, okay, here. And it's because these are not the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, throughout, so on, are not, they are totally, that they don't register in the scripture, according to the scripture. Okay, so here is the first Sabbath of the second month. And notice that it's not the same. It's 1 day off from first quarter, from half moon. Okay, first Sabbath, and then the 6 working days. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on the 26th of April, we have the second Sabbath. Okay, and let's continue. Now, this, as I said, this is a 29-day month. The first month was a 29-day month. The second month, well, let's see what how long that month is. If we continue, we notice that this third Sabbath is on Monday, the May 21st. I'm sorry, May 2021, Monday, May 3rd. Okay, and the fourth Sabbath is Monday, falls on the fourth Sabbath, the 10th of May. Okay, now as you can see, the fourth Sabbath, unlike the first month, let's go back there. The end of the first month, the last Sabbath, the very next day was New Moon Day. Why? Because the last Sabbath on the first month was the last day of the month. Okay, as you can see, there's no light shining from the moon. That's what is called conjunction in astronomical terminology. And that's the last day of the month. Here, light begins to shine again on the 12th of April. So going here here's the fourth Sabbath. And that's the last day that light shines. But then the very next day is the last day of the month. Okay. This day, the 11th of May, is the very last day of the month. Let me just drop that a little bit. It's the last day of the month. And this is, some people call this a translation day. I just like to call it the last day of the month, because the very next day is New Moon Day. So this is a 30-day month. The second month of the year is a 30-day month. And like I said, it's very easy to follow. The very next day is New Moon Day. Okay. And then you have 6 working days. And then it goes to the Sabbath, which is going to be New Moon Day. Wednesday fell on New Moon Day. Therefore, the next 4 Wednesdays will fall on the Sabbath, the first Sabbath, the second Sabbath, and the third and fourth Sabbath. Okay, let's continue. So we have June, and this third month of the year, I'm sure you can tell by now that it also is a 30-day month, because notice the fourth Sabbath, after the fourth Sabbath, is the last day of the month. No light shining from the moon. That's the last day of the month. If you look at this, you look closely. Okay, it's that simple pattern. A sliver of light, no light, new sliver of light from the moon. That's that end of the month pattern. Okay, last day light shines, no light shine. That's the last day of the month. New month right there. Okay, so let's continue. All right, into July. So now we have on the 4th, right before the 4th Sabbath of the 4th month, we have the Feast of Weeks, also known as Pentecost. And so that occurred on July 8th, fell on that Feast of Weeks, which was a Sabbath day. Okay, it's called a Holy Convocation. It is one of those special, those set apart days that Yahuwah ordained. We're going to go into that at a later section. So let's continue. So notice we have the 4th Sabbath, and the 4th Sabbath of the 4th month, and then New Moon Day starts next. And New Moon Day of the 5th month starts the day after. Let's continue. We see that the Sabbaths are now, that Saturday falls, okay, a new moon day. So the next 4 Sabbaths, Saturday will fall on the next 4 Sabbaths. New moon day for the 6th month fell, or rather Monday, August 9th fell on the new moon day of the 6th month. And therefore the next 4 Sabbaths, okay, are going to, or Monday is going to fall on the next 4 Sabbaths. So the 4th Sabbath is September 6th. September 6th falls on the 4th Sabbath of the 6th month. Okay, and then the very next day is a very special month, the 7th month of the calendar year, which begins with the Feast of Trumpets. We have the Feast of Trumpets, and then that's the first day of the month of the 7th month. 10 days later is another special set apart day, the Day of Atonement, which is never on a 7th-day Sabbath. It's always in the middle of the week. And then on the 15th day of the 7th month begins the Feast of Tabernacles, and it runs for 8 days. Last day is on a Sabbath. So the 3rd Sabbath of the 7th month ends the Feast of Tabernacles. And that is the last of the set apart yearly festivals. So here we come into the month of October, where the end of the 7th month, which is a 30-day month. And then we're now into the 8th month. Okay, October 7th fell upon New Moon Day. Thursday, October 7th fell on New Moon Day of the 8th month. And so that means that the next 4 Thursdays will fall on Sabbath days. The 4th Sabbath of the 8th month corresponded to November 4th. And so the 9th month is where we are currently. We're now in the 9th month of the year. And the 9th month, Friday, the November 5th, was New Moon Day of the 9th month. And therefore, today is Sunday, the 7th of November. So the first Sabbath, okay, of the 9th month, Friday the 12th, will fall on the first Sabbath of the 9th month. And then the second Sabbath, November 19th, will fall on the second Sabbath of the 9th month. November 26th will fall on the third Sabbath of the 9th month. And then Friday, December 3rd will fall on the fourth Sabbath of the 9th month. And we'll continue. There are no more yearly Sabbaths, just weekly Sabbaths throughout the rest of the calendar year. And so we have the 10th month. And then on January the 3rd starts the 11th month, New Moon Day of the 11th month of the year. February 1st falls on the first day of the 12th month of this year. And Metonic cycle year 11 we're in. Okay. So as we continue, okay, what? A 13th month? Yes. In the calendar of the Creator, there are occasionally 13 months in a given year. And we'll talk a bit about that as we go forward, because remember, the year is based upon a whole number of lunar months. Okay, and Abib, which comes after this, let me just go back real quick to the first month of the year. Just want to show you something real quick on this calendar. You'll notice that the underscore line, that underscored line is the year where you have a 13 moon cycle year. Okay, and so the 11th year, which is what we're in now, of the 19-year cycle, is a 13-month year. The 12th year, no. 13th year, no. The 14th year, yes. Let's go back. So, new moon day will correspond, April 1st falls on new moon day of the new year, the 12th year of the 19-year cycle. All right, so this is just an overview of the scriptural calendar. And like I said, you may request this calendar just by emailing people of Yahuwah's Word people of Yahuwah's Word at gmail.com and request the calendar, and I will send it to you. All right. I think we're going to stop at that point, and we will pick up part 4 soon. So continue to study Yahuwah's Word and to understand the feast days. And in the next part, I will go into more and more detail the significance of each of those festivals, the yearly festivals, as well as the Sabbath. So just wanted to leave you with this thought: the word of Yahuwah is supreme and supersedes and overrides every idea, custom, theory, and tradition of mankind. Study Yahuwah's word to understand what Yahuwah has called us to. And I wish all of you a great rest of your day, and may Yahuwah bless you and your family. All the best. Until next time, people of Yahuwah's word.